Alright, a very good afternoon to everyone who is joining in. We are back for the noontime session for today. Our noontime live stream will be looking at going through a P5 English paper. So very good afternoon everyone who is just joining us as we go through this English paper. Okay, we'll be going through English paper 2 for today, set at the P5 English level. Today we'll be taking a look at how do we tackle or how do we work with some questions that we might come across that are quite common, that show up pretty frequently in your paper 1 and mostly English paper 2. Okay. So as a introduction, or rather as a context for everyone, today's English paper we'll be taking a look at comes from the 2023 end of year paper. 2023 Primary 5 end of year paper from Tao Nan School. Right, if you're interested in getting a clean copy of this paper, you can always find it online through online sources. Alright, you can find it online for free exam or free test papers. So let's start off today. Today we're looking at 4 different sections in total. The first 2 sections are your MCQ questions, right? Divided into your grammar MCQ and your vocab MCQ. Once you're done with your MCQ, you'll move ahead to our grammar close section. For our grammar close passage, you'll be given a box of 15 options. You have to fill in the 10 blanks from the 15 options given. And we'll end off today in time for lunch with our editing passage, where you need to replace the mistake in the passage. Right, if there are no further questions, let's begin. Along the way, if you think you have the answer as we're going through, drop a answer in the chat, and if you get it right, you'll get to credit your mark. Alright? So let's get started. Today we're taking a look at grammar MCQ first. Grammar MCQ will comprise 10 questions. 10 questions, they can range from different grammar rules or grammar structures that you need to take note of. Starting off, you have question 1. Abram and Noah blank each other at the camp last week. So blank each other at the camp last week. Last week tells us the point in time for this sentence. It took place in the past. So looking for a verb over here in the past tense. So among befriend, befriends, befriended, were befriending, the only one that is in the simple past tense is, okay, maybe for the first question, maybe you'd like to give it a try. Any of our users over here would like to give it a try. Which answer do you think it is? Right, certainly the answer is option 3, befriended. Okay. Why befriended and not were befriending? Were befriending, yes, it's in the past tense. However, befriending is continuous tense. That means they're still in the act of getting to know each other, but that isn't the case here. They became friends through the camp. So it is option 3, befriended. Question 2. The king was sad as he did not have blank freedom to explore the land. Okay, so the king is feeling blue because the king did not have enough freedom to explore the land. So which of these quantifiers over here are used to indicate and refer to freedom? In this case, freedom is used as an uncountable noun. You don't individually count out freedom, right? Let's take that back to Our options over here. Few and many are used for countable nouns. Okay. Few and many are used for countable nouns. Okay. While little and much are used for uncountable nouns. So between little and much as our quantifier, which is the better fit over here? In this case here, the king was feeling sad because he did not have enough freedom. He wanted more freedom, right? So talking about not enough, we're looking at option 4, much. He wanted a larger amount of freedom to explore the land, so we go with much. Question 3. The teacher's words of encouragement were still blank in her ears. Okay, so this one might be a bit tricky. Who wants to give it a shot? I see user 397 has an answer in. How about the others? Do you agree with user 397? 397? Right, so in this case here, we look at the word still. Still tells us that this verb that follows after is continuous, ongoing. Right? So looking for a word in the continuous tense, the only answer is option 4, ringing. So good job, user 397. You get 1 ring as well. Okay. How about the other viewers? If you think you have your answer, chime in as well, okay? Question 4. The show blank, please be quiet. So this one can be a bit tricky if you're not too familiar. Think about it for a moment before you answer, alright? Which do you think best fits the blank here? 4 words, 4 different tenses. Alright, user 397 again coming in quick with their answer, quick fingers. How about the others? Do you agree? Or do you think a different answer should be in the blank? Okay, right. So let's see why we use it here. We're looking at please be quiet. The show has begun. Okay, has begun, has present tense because please be quiet, it's happening. Begun because it already took place in the past. The show began, that's why you're asking you to be quiet now. Okay, it happened already. Okay, and has because we know it's in the present tense be. Okay, so yes, again, once again, user 397 coming in hot with the right answer. Well done. Okay, how about the other viewers also? If you think you have the answer, also feel free to drop it in the chat, alright? Okay, don't let one person soak up all the answers. There must be a bit of competition to make it exciting, yeah? Question 5. If Rajan blanked about the competition, he would definitely take part in it. If Rajan blanked about the competition, he would definitely take part in it. Okay, we finally have ZWFP. If there's a better way you would like me to pronounce the name, please let me know. Coming in with option 4, had known. Okay, interesting answer. Do the others agree? Do you think had known should be used over here? Let's go about trying to dissect and understand our answer. Okay, yes, another user also. Um, Fudge and user Fudge has given in an answer as well. It's a different answer, so let's see which one is correct. Okay, we start off with if. If over here is used as a conditional conjunction. What is a conditional conjunction? A conditional conjunction is used to introduce a condition, to introduce if statement. If something, then something. Okay. Example, if something, then something. Okay. What you should know, however, for these two blanks over here, the verb tense must be the same. Same verb tense. So in the second half over here, he would over here, what tense is this in? Would is in the past tense, right? The past tense of will is would. Yes, good job, Fudge. Definitely it's past tense. So to link it back across to our blank over here, if would is in the past tense, the same verb tense in this blank should also be in the simple past tense. Okay. Simple past tense. And so among our four options over here, the only one that is in the simple past tense is option 1. Okay. Right, so good job. Good job, Fudge. Well done for the answer. For the other viewers, if you didn't get this right or if you're struggling with this question, don't get discouraged. It can be pretty tricky, so keep your eyes and ears peeled as we go through some of the other questions, alright? Okay. Don't feel discouraged. These questions can be pretty tricky at times, even for students that have moved past the primary 5 level as well. So let's keep working hard on them together so that we don't make the same mistakes again. Good. On to question 6 and our next set of 5 questions. At the top of the page over here, Mr. and Mrs. Reyes blank sailing around the world for charity and will end their journey next month. Mr. and Mrs. Reyes over here. Mr. and Mrs. Reyes over here, you have a subject, right? Subject, is it a singular or plural subject? Mr. and Mrs., there are two people. Two people, multiple, it is a plural subject. Okay, so that informs the verb that we'll be having here later on. Okay, but let's keep that in the pocket for now. We move on to the rest of the sentence. Sailing around the world will end their journey next month. Okay, so that means have they ended their journey? Not yet. Have they started their journey? Yes, they've already started and it's still ongoing, right? So this tells us it is an ongoing journey that is still happening. Okay? And as a result, it should be in the present tense because they are still on their journey. Okay. So by combining these two conditions together, the answer that best fits our blank over here is option 3, have been. So that has been correctly pointed out by user 397, Fudge, and Faisal. Good job, all three of you. Okay, well done getting in your right answers at the bell. Okay. Question 7. By emerging first in the photography contest, I had won blank myself a pair of free tickets to the zoo. Okay. So this is a preposition use question. preposition used over here to win blank yourself. In this case here, you should use the preposition for. So as user 397 and Fudge yet again leading the scoreboards, with Faisal coming in as well with your answers. Well done, all three of you. All of you getting your second answer right in the row. Okay, let's try to go for 3 with our next question. Let's see if we can get the 3 in a row. The newspapers are on that table. Blank, you need to refer to them to complete your project. We have must, could, would, and should. All of these are pretty tricky. So I'd like to point out this question over here. Not a simple question at all. Okay. Which option do you think best fills in the blank over here? Okay. Take a minute. Consider how you use these words in a sentence, right? Do they have more than one meaning? Or when placed in different contexts, they can have different uses. In this case here, you're looking at a condition, right? If you need to refer to them, the newspapers are on the table available for use. Okay. So looking for a word over here that could have the meaning of if. In that case, the word that you should replace it with is option 4, should you need to refer to them. Okay. In this case here, in this context, should has the same meaning as if. Should you need to refer to them, the newspapers are on that table. Okay. So well done, Fudge and 397, getting your third answer right in a row. Okay. Both of you are neck and neck to see who has more right answers. It looks like it's going to be a tiebreaker unless one of you ages out the other. Okay. For the other viewers also, don't feel discouraged, alright? This is the chance that you can still continue to catch up. Try to get the right answers. Okay. Question 9. The student, blank speech I like, has been selected to represent the school in an oratorical contest. What is an oratorical contest? Well, oratorical skills refer to skills of speech. Speech. An orator is a speaker. Okay, so talking about a speech. In this case here, which pronoun should be used to refer to the student? Okay. Fudge coming in with a quick answer, followed by 397 very quickly. Okay. Oh, we see a change in answer over here. Is this a correct change? Did they manage to rescue the answer in time? Okay. Other users, other viewers, what do you think? All these pronouns are used regularly in our everyday speech, but are we using them correctly? Okay, let me go through each of them. Who, which, and whom are under a group called relative pronouns. Okay, I see I coming in with one answer, whom as well. Okay, relative pronouns relate or point to a subject or the object in the sentence. Okay, for example, whose, or for example, whom or who. I'm the one who is teaching today. You are the one whom is listening. Who one whom I am teaching. Okay. However, whose is different. Whose refers to a possessive pronoun. What is a possessive pronoun? You think about the root word possess, right? To possess is to take over. Okay. So possessive pronouns are used to indicate ownership. Who is the owner? Who is the one that carries out this action here? In this case here, when you use relative, when you use possessive pronouns, relative pronouns are usually followed by verbs, right? I'm the one who is talking. You are the ones whom I am talking to. So they are followed by verbs. While possessive pronouns ownership are usually followed by nouns. Whose water bottle is this? Whose pencil case is this, right? So they are followed by nouns. In this case here, we're looking at speech. Speech here is a noun. So speech is a noun, hence we should use a possessive pronoun, which is option 4, whose. Okay, so well done everyone who got it right. This is indeed a very tricky question indeed, as pointed out by Fudge. So for those that didn't get it right, don't get discouraged. Many students for this year got that question wrong as well. Okay, so well done to user 397 that got it right. And Sean also went for EAE interview. All the best for your interview as well. All right. Okay. So well done to everyone that got it right. Home speech sounds more natural though. Perhaps yes, depending on how you speak, depending on your mode of conversation, it can sound more natural. But just bear in mind that at the end of the day, language rules are quite a hard and fast system of rules that we have to follow. Okay, and something that we can pay attention to would be the use of verbs and nouns when relating to pronouns. Okay. Finally, question 10. You have to admit that the idea is original, blank you. Okay. So how should you answer this question? It can be pretty tricky. This is known as a tag question. What is a tag question? You start off with your main statement at the front. You have your main statement at the front. Followed by your question tag at the end of it. Your question tag comes with a verb. The verb here. And the subject or the person in the sentence. In this case here, the subject is you. It's the same as what you have from the first half of the main sentence, right? So you is the subject, no change over here, correct? Now your main focus over here is to find the verb. How do you go about finding the verb? You need to look at two things. Firstly, it must be in the same tense as your main sentence or main statement verb. What is the verb in the main statement? What is the verb in the main statement? Okay. So this can be tricky for students. They might fall into the trap. They see have. They think, oh, have is the verb, have admit. But you're not reading the whole sentence. Have to. But you say you have to do something, it's almost the same as must, right? You must do something. And what must you do? You must, the verb that comes after. Okay, so must or have to is actually used as an adverb in this sentence. It's not the verb, but an adverb. The verb actually comes just from admit. Okay. So pay attention, be careful, read the whole sentence carefully, and think about how the words are being used to carry across the meaning. Alright, in this case here, because have to is being used as the adverb, not the verb. The verb only comes from admit. And admit, as we all know, it's in the present tense. Okay. Second rule that we need to follow, once you have the same tense, it must be also the opposite action. Opposite action. Okay. What is the opposite action here? In this case here, the action is to admit, do admit, The opposite of do omit is do not omit. Right? Do, verbs in the present tense, do versus do not. Okay, you see the swap in the opposing actions over here. Opposing actions, do versus do not. And because of that, we look for do not in our answer, which is option 1, don't, the contraction of do not. So yes, this is a pretty tricky question. I would like to point this out to everyone. Or rather, the last 3 questions of this paper have been pretty tricky. Okay, so keep an eye out for questions like these. They are particularly common, so make sure you know how to answer them. Any questions? Right, it's a pretty tricky question, so if you got it wrong, don't get discouraged. Just take note of how you can answer it right in the future. Okay, a step-by-step, very methodical approach, very methodical process to get the right answer. Okay, with that, we are done with our grammar MCQ. We can slowly proceed on to our vocab MCQ questions. Alright? For those that have just joined us and missed out on the grammar MCQ, no worries. We'll have a second look at grammar later on when we look at our grammar closed passage. Okay, so you're not missing out on your grammar fundamentals. And for the benefit of those who have joined it late, today we're taking a look at the 2023 P5 end of year paper from Tao Nan. Right, so if you need to refer to this paper or you would like a blank copy, you can feel free to find a copy of it online. Alright, on to vocab MCQ. Vocab MCQ, unlike grammar, has a different structure. What do I mean by this? For vocab MCQ, similarly, you also have 10 questions. But they're split up into 2 sections. The first section, as you have seen so far, is to fill in the blank. Fill in the blank with the correct word based on the 4 options given. There will be 5 fill in the blank MCQ questions, followed by a short passage where you'll be required to replace or to substitute the word out. Okay. So you'll also have 5 substitution MCQ questions to go through. Okay. So this will be the case for your vocab MCQ. Starting off with question 11, the man blanked the rope tightly as he was afraid he would fall. Okay, we have 4 words over here all referring to actions or movements, which carries the idea of holding on to the rope tightly. Okay, Fudge has a quick answer in. How about the others who are filling in your answers? Which do you think is the closest match? Okay, going with the first one, to haul. To haul is to pull something heavy. To pull or even to carry something heavy. For example, every day when I go to school, I have to haul my backpack to school. On the other hand, to lug is to pull something with difficulty. That's why you have a luggage. Luggage, to lug something across the floor. To pull with difficulty. Clasp. To clasp is to hold something firmly in your hands or in your arms. To hold something firmly in your hands. And finally, to drag. To drag something is to pull along a surface. For example, I drag the chair across the floor. Okay, to pull something along a surface. So with these four meanings in mind, which do you think best fills in the blank? I have an answer from Fudge, but what about the other viewers? Surely you have some ideas swimming around in your minds now. Right? So based on these four definitions over here, we're not really looking at the man trying to pull anything. He's not pulling onto the rope, rather he's holding onto it to support his weight as he was afraid as he would fall. Okay? So the answer here is option 3, to clasp onto the rope firmly with his hands. Okay? Great job, Fudge. Okay. For the others also, feel free to chime in if you have gotten the right answer. Okay. On to question 12. Question 12, we see a series of what we call idioms. Idioms are common sayings that are not meant to be taken literally. They are used as a way to spice up language. Match the tense or definition to the tense of the word. It might be good. Okay. Right, that could be possible. Oh, okay. Okay, take it in mind. Sure, I'll keep that in mind in the future in terms of matching the definitions to the words. Thank you. Now we have four options over here. Four idioms that are in the past tense, so I shall put the definitions in the past tense, alright? But these idioms can also be used in the present tense to break the ice, to sit on the fence, to pull a long face, and to shed crocodile tears. Okay? They can be used in the present tense as well, but my definitions will be in the past tense for the user's comprehension. So to break, someone who broke the ice is getting strangers to know each other. Strangers that got to know each other. For example, when I went into my new class at the start of the year, after my classmates and I broke the ice, after we got to know each other, we became best friends. Okay, so we broke the ice, we got to know each other. Set on the fence. To be set on the fence is to be undecided about a decision. About decision. To be on the fence. Yes, he's on the fence as well. Pulled a long face. Someone who pulled a long face is someone who looked glum, who looked sad. For example, Sally pulled a long face when she heard the bad news. So she looked sad, she looked glum when she heard the bad news. Okay. And finally, to shed crocodile tears is to show or to show false sorrow or false sadness. So to show an insincere feeling of sadness or sorrow. Okay. In this case, you're looking at Jamila. Jamila blanked after learning that she was not selected as the star pupil. Now think about it, Jamila probably worked really hard to earn that title. However, she was not selected as a star pupil. How do you think she felt? Okay. Right, Gaia has an answer in. I think earlier on also M had an answer in. M, Gaia. Harsh, I'm not sure which answer you're referring to for this question, so maybe you'd like to select just one. Brian. User 583 has an answer in. Kanan has your answer in as well. Okay. And for Brian, I think you're looking at question 13, right? But maybe let's go to question. Let's take a question 12 first. Let's take a question 12, the one that we are highlighting here. And with that, among our 4 idioms, the one that best fits the idea of Jamila feeling disappointed about not being selected as the star pupil is option 3, to pull a long face. She was disappointed, she looked glum and sad that she did not get selected as star pupil. Okay. Well done everyone who got it right. So that okay. On to 13. Question 13. The water in the tank was so blank that we could not see the fishes clearly. Okay. Could not see the fishes clearly, right? Visibility is affected when you're underwater. How do we use these words in a sentence? All of them relate to a certain idea of not being clear or not being bright. But how do we use them? Something that's dim is something that does not have enough light. For example, if you forget to turn off the light in your room, the room is dim. Something with not enough light filling the space. Question 12. Dull. Something that is dull is something that is not shiny, that is unclear. For example, if you do not polish your shoes, they will become dull over time. They become unclear, become not shiny. Dull colors. Hazy. Hazy is used to refer to air that is unclear. Dull is more for colors. Hazy is used more for air, right? Sometimes when the air is hazy, it's difficult to breathe. And finally, option 4, murky is for unclear, referring to water or liquids. For example, the river is unclear, or there's a murky liquid sloshing about in my cup. Since we're looking at the water in the tank, the one that you should use is murky, option 4. Okay, so well done for all those that got this right for question 13. That will be very unknown. I guess this is a got a right answer, even though you say this is a section you struggle in. Good job for Murky. Good job for Gaia, user 583, and Brian as well. Okay. Okay. All right, as I proceed to the next questions, as I proceed with the next few questions, may I implore upon some of our viewers. I get that we are all excited about tackling these questions, right? Because we really want a chance to be able to take progress of our learning. At the same time, however, I would greatly appreciate it if we could keep our answers relevant to the question that we're discussing at the moment. Okay. I understand you have your answers. You might have come across some questions from answers beforehand, but if you are too excited, you send the answers from the next few questions. That might confuse other viewers who are still on question 13. If you're still on question 13, you send in answers on question 15, 17, 20. Then they'll be confused. How come we are looking at answers that are so far ahead? Alright, so in the interest of conducive learning environment for everyone, let's just stick to the answers for this upcoming question. Alright, if you have the answers for the following questions, you can keep them in your pocket first. When we reach them, now's your chance to show them off later on. Alright, let's have the agreement in place for everyone here. Okay. And thank you very much for the rose, Brian. You've gotten many answers right so far, so let's keep going ahead with the right answers. Okay, good job. Thank you very much, Brian. Question 14. Since the 2 movies are screened blank, we have no choice but to choose one. So in what situation would you have to choose between 2 movies playing at the same time? In this case here, unfortunately, we have no choice because they are playing at the same time. So we have 2 movies playing at the same time. We have 4 adverbs over here. Which of the 4 adverbs has the idea of things happening at the same time? The adverb you should use is simultaneously, right? Good job, Brian, getting the right answer. Right, maybe the rose gave you the right answer. Okay, rock and roll king as well. getting the right answer for simultaneously. Okay. How about the others? When do we use them? Consecutively is one after the next in sequence. One after the next. Frequently is happening often. While punctually is used to talk about something that's happening on its specific timeline. Okay, so punctual. Good job for those that got it right. On to question 15, the final of our 5 fill in the blank vocab questions. You are sneezing non-stop. I think you may be blank with a cold. Okay. So we have coming on, coming up, coming out, and coming down. These are known as phrasal verbs. What are phrasal verbs? Phrasal verbs are phrases, a sequence of short or a sequence of multiple words, a phrase that is meant to be read together as a single verb or single action. To come on, to come up, to come out, or to come down. In this case here, the answer that you should be sticking with, as pointed out by both Brian, rock and roll, and very unknown, it is to come down with. To come down with is to begin to suffer from an illness or a condition. Beginning to suffer, right? So take on the suggestion of doing in the same tense. Coming down with is to beginning to suffer from an illness. So well done to those that got it right as well. That would have been rock and roll, unknown, very unknown, and Brian. Okay, well done. Okay. Some of our users are also joining in from our earlier session. So for those that got it right, very well done. This covers our 5 filling the blank questions for vocab. Okay. Some of them can be pretty tricky. The ones that I'd like to point out over here that might be of greater interest for your revision would be question 12. Question 12 talks about 4 different idioms to use. Okay? 4 idioms that are pretty common in your speech, so you be careful of them. 13 is tricky because it talks about the same quality of unclear, the same quality of lack of visibility, but across different media. In this case here, across the colors, air, and water. Okay? So these 3 over here need to be clearly differentiated for question 13. And finally, question 15 will be difficult if you're not familiar with phrasal verbs. Okay? How do you get acquainted with phrasal verbs? You have no choice but to read widely, right? Read widely, not just storybooks, but as well as your non-fiction text, your news articles, current affairs. See how phrasal verbs are being used to bring across and convey a reader's intention. Any questions? Alright, if you'd like to take a screenshot or if you'd like to take down the notes, feel free to do so. And as always, we're taking a look at the P5 Tao Nan end of year 2023 paper. Okay. So if you wish to refer to this paper on your own or to try it out on the next, you can try it out. Okay, we'll be moving ahead in the interest of time. Understand some of our users are a bit of a rush, so let's move on. We'll have P6. This paper is a P5 paper, but it's a P5 end of year paper. So what does that mean? That means it tests both P5 levels as well as setting the fundamentals for P6. Okay. By the time you go through your prelims in P6, a lot of the fundamentals will be covered from your P5 paper. So that will not be so whatever you go through here will still be useful. Alright, let's be respectful for each other. Okay, as we're all learning in this environment over here, all of us come in with different proficiencies in the language. You might find it simple. Some of us might struggle a bit as well. So let's keep it encouraging for everyone. Allow everyone to have a chance to respond. Alright, so this story talks about animals. Any of you enjoy petting zoos and animals? Gina loved bats. In fact, she had 20 bats hanging around at her home. However, she did not live in a bat cave. On the contrary, she lived in a house that turned into a bat shelter by night. So you're looking at on the contrary. On the contrary, over here is used for the idea of however. In contrast, instead of living, or however, not living in a bat cave, but living in a house that turns into a bat shelter. So among our four options over here in question 16, which do you think best covers the idea of however to put a contrast in place? Okay. Right, Nin's coming in with a right answer. Rock and roll as well. Okay. Right, so for our respondents, and finally Solihan coming in as well with one. It is indeed question option 1 instead. Instead is used to indicate a contrast of our two clauses. So well done for Solihan, Rock and Roll, and Nins. Right, instead, she lived in a house that turned into a bat shelter by night. You would not find these little creatures relaxing on benches, but you might find one or two of them snuggling up to Gina. Okay? So to relax, which of these four verbs over here replace the word relax or relaxing? Which one over here means relaxing? Okay, hibernating. Fudge has hibernating in. Snoozing. What about huddling? Oh, very interesting. We have all four answers over here in our chat. So it seems that this is a very divisive question. Everyone here has a different optional answer. Okay. How do you use them in a sentence? Well, to huddle, let's start with huddle. To huddle is to squeeze together. Okay. For example, because the temperature was very cold, we huddled together to conserve body heat. So to huddle together is to squeeze together. Okay. To lounge is to unwind and to relax. Okay. To snooze is to take a nap. Right? Sometimes if you're not paying attention in class, the teacher is talking while you're snoozing away, that is to take a nap. While to hibernate is to sleep for a long time. Long sleep, a prolonged sleep. Okay. For example, bears go to hibernate during winter. Okay. In this case over here, we're looking at the little creatures on the benches. They are unwinding, they are relaxing, so you should use option 2, lounging. Okay, so it seems like many people have gotten a different answer, but along as we discuss these verbs together, we've slowly converged around the right answer, option 2. So well done for everyone who's managed to get it right. Okay. Snoozing alarm. Yes, sometimes you might snooze the alarm if you are too tired in the morning. Okay. Moving on from our passage over here, snuggling up to Gina. At her home, Gina had taken care of bats with injuries, such as a broken wing. She had also cared for bats that were left behind for the winter because they did not travel south before low temperatures set in. Right? So because you travel south during winter to escape the cold temperatures, so to be left behind, to be abandoned by the others. Which of the four options in question 18 best carry the idea of being abandoned, to be left behind? Okay, looks like Brian and Loliet know each other. So among the two, between you two, who do you think will get the right answer? Okay, Esther, Nins, Kanan coming in with the answer with Fudge and Ilfi as well. Okay, Unknown and Pichimi coming in. Sneha and Brian. Wow, looks like many people have gotten their answers in. In this case here, no one is choosing 1 and 3, so let's eliminate them from consideration. When do you use 2? When do you use 4? Wait. Nins put 3, right? Okay, let's go about 3. Sorry. To detain. To detain someone is to imprison someone. For example, the criminal was detained for his crimes. So to imprison someone. Not quite what we're looking for over here. The bats are not being kept prisoner, right? How about isolated? To be isolated is to be excluded from a group. For example, if you came down with COVID during the pandemic, you had to be isolated and quarantined, right? So be excluded from the group. But this still means that the group can be in the same place, just that they are separated, right? To be separated, they're excluded from the group, to be isolated. However, stranded, to strand someone is to leave someone behind. For example, if you were stranded on a deserted island, or if you're stranded in school because your parents forget to pick you up and you don't have a bus card with you. So to be stranded is to be left somewhere with no way of escape. Okay. With no escape. Okay. And in this case here, the one that best captures the idea is option 4, stranded, to be left behind, to be stranded for the winter because the others left without them. Okay. So good job for those that got it right. And yeah, I didn't think of 4 because stranded sounds like stuck, like stranded on an island. Yes, Nins, that is how you can use stranded as well, stranded on an island. In this case here, the bats sometimes are stranded behind in the winter, the cold, harsh winter environment because others left without them. They have no ways of catching up, no ways of navigating to find the others in time. So they are also left behind, just like being left behind on the island. Okay, so well done for those that got it right. Very tricky question over here. On to question 4. With the help of a vet, Gina nursed those winged mammals back to health and then set them free. When Gina was little, she grew up on a farm where bats were common sight. Okay? Looking to replace the word common over here, how many you see commonly? Question 19 at the bottom of the page. Which is used to replace common? Okay, all the answers are pouring in. Okay, maybe a couple of seconds more. And right. Yep, the correct answer is all of you have gotten is familiar. Okay, so well done to everyone, especially those who are answering for the first few times. I think it's the first few times you're seeing Lawliet, Butter Cookies, ST joining in with the answers, as well as Gaia and Very Unknown also getting the right answers. So good job for all those, especially those that are just joining in. Okay. So to be something that is familiar is something that is common, something that is not unfamiliar to you. Okay. Finally, hence, it was no surprise to Gina how quickly she took to an orphaned baby bat she found squeaking on the ground outside her house. She immediately fed it goat's milk. To her delight, the bat survived the night. She had helped bats ever since. So we need to look at the word took to take to. Take to, it has 4 options over here. Which of the 4 options over here has the idea of taking to something? Okay, this can be pretty tricky because these words are very similar in meanings. Right? Okay, right, we see a spread of answers across options 1, 2, and 4. And do we have option 3 in the chat? Any options 3 in the chat? Doesn't seem like it, so maybe you can not consider that for now. Prefer is to choose among options. In this case here, Gina wasn't choosing among other bets, so prefer isn't really quite right. How do we use liked, favored, and welcomed? Okay, to welcome something is to introduce something new to your life. Favor is to prefer. For example, my teacher favors the class monitor, right? So the teacher is biased towards or chooses the class monitor among other classmates. Okay. To welcome is to introduce something new or to receive something new. While to like is to show affection for. In this case here, took to. Took to is pretty tricky. It's known as a phrasal verb. It's what we call a phrasal verb over here. To take to something is to take a liking to something. For example, after playing football with my friends, I took to soccer or I took to football. Or after watching the Euros, I took to football. So I take a liking for something. Questions? Yes, hence favored. Why is it not favored? Because favored over here, to favor carries the idea of choosing among other options. For example, the class monitor was favored among the other students. In this case here, she wasn't favoring the orphan baby bats among the other bats she saw. There was just that one baby bat that she took a liking to. So she wasn't comparing the baby bat to other bats that she has, but just taking care of it and taking a liking to it by itself without comparison. Okay. Does that answer your question? Why is it not favored? Okay. Alright, so yes, this is a pretty tricky question, so you can take note of how you can use the phrasal verb here in the context. Okay. If you got this question wrong, yeah, perhaps it's because you're not too familiar with the use of these phrasal verbs. Welcome as to something that is new. Yes, welcome is used to introduce or when you receive something new. In this case here, why you use like and not welcome? If you take a look at the sentence over here, how quickly she welcomed versus how quickly she took a liking to a bat. You need to look at the context of the sentence, right? She immediately fed it goat's milk and to her delight. So the rest of the passage does give you clues over here that she doesn't just welcome or introduce it, but she is caring for it. There's an additional effort being put on Gina's part that shows her additional liking. So yes, these context clues are pretty important sometimes to help you filter out your answer. Otherwise, the answers can be a pretty close match for each other. You might struggle to pick out the closest match. Yep. So if this explanation has helped you, please let me know. If you found the explanation unhelpful also, please let me know so I can know how I can better explain it for the viewers. Any questions or clarifications we can have? Otherwise, perhaps we can proceed on to our grammar close. Okay? For those that joined late, you can get a chance to practice your grammar now. Alright, okay, thanks for clarification as well. Please don't feel bad about clarifying or raising a question. Clarifying also allows me to get a better understanding of the viewers as well as how I'm able to answer the explanations. Yes, for the last question is option, oh my bad, I did not highlight it. Option 1, light. Option 1, light. No, I'm sure some of you got it right just now, but as you can see, this is a pretty tricky question. Just I put a star beside it as well so that you can keep in mind that for vocab passage, you also need to read the rest of the context, the rest of the passage to feed into your answer. Right, so thank you very much for the questions. Thank you very much for the clarifications. If you have any other questions along the way, please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat. Okay. Right, next passage over here. This passage will be pertinent for some of us. Over here, this passage is about handwriting. Any of you have ever gotten scolded by your teachers for handwriting? Or have gotten any remarks or comments about handwriting before? Right? Handwriting is an increasingly rare skill, especially as we start learning about, as long as we continue using our technological devices to aid our learning, we could also see a negative effect on our handwriting. Parents and educators have been worrying about the dying out of handwriting for years. The reason? Smartphones and laptops have led blank some schools spending less time on teaching the fine art of writing. So to lead what? In this case here, it's collocation, words that go together. Collocation. To lead to. Okay, so good job Kanan and Rock and Roll, as well as Kira for getting the right answer. Okay, and for Kira, I think this is also your first answer if I'm not wrong, and you got it right. So great job getting off on the right foot. Okay. Sarah, a 10-year-old, used her handwriting skills to win blank national penmanship competition. Okay. So it was an impressive feat. It was tells you this is in the past tense. So what should be the blank over here? That would be, as Cornelius has pointed out, it is option G. Had used her handwriting skills. Good job, Cornelius. To win blank national penmanship competition. Okay, good job, Gaia, as well, for getting the right answer. What article should you use over here for the national penmanship competition? Are you looking at a specific competition? A particular one? Not quite. Okay, let me zoom out. Is this better for those at home? I understand the banner might be blocking if you can't see. Oh, okay, not any better. Okay. In this case here, looking for an article for a non-specific event, right? Not a particular one, just one of the many competitions. So you should be looking for option A. A for a national competition. It's not just one, because if you're using the for option N, many of you chose N for the, right? The is used for a specific competition. Like for example, we see the top over here. The reason, the particular reason, right? This specific reason that we have in mind. However, in this case here, it's not just one competition, it's one of many. So it just is a non-specific one, which is option A, a. Pretty tricky question. So for those that got it right, well done. Those that got it wrong, don't get discouraged. It is pretty common to get it wrong, but don't make the same mistake in the future. Okay, be careful to differentiate between specific and non-specific nouns. It was an impressive feat, made even blank so since she was born without hands. Okay. You're looking at a comparison over here, even blank so. Okay. Which blank should fill in here? Even blank. Even is used for comparisons. So the comparative that you should use over here is more. Okay, well done for those that got it right. For Rock and Roll. Okay, even more so since she was born without hands. So good job, Gaia, as well. With the right answer. Even more so. Writing blank holding her pencil between the ends of her arms, Sarah was trained in the art of penmanship by her teacher. So writing blank holding the pencil between the ends of her arms. This talks about the method in which she learned to write. So you're looking for method over here. The answer should be writing by. Great job, Kanan. Great job, Gaia. And Rock and Roll King. Writing by holding her pencil. She was trained in the art of penmanship by her teacher, and blank she knew it, she began to love writing. Okay, this can be pretty tricky. It's an expression. Blank she knew it. and before she knew it. Okay? Yes, exactly right. Butter cookies and Gaia. Before she knew it, before you know it is an expression used to say before or very soon. Okay? Before she knew it. Okay? Well done, Rock and Roll King as well. Sarah's teacher told her parents, your girl can do just about blank. Can do just about what? This is an expression as well. What's the expression here? Yes, your girl can do just about anything, right? It's incredible what she's able to achieve. Okay? So well done, Butter Cookies, Rock and Roll, and Gaia getting two right answers. The same people getting the right answers again. At the National Handwriting contest, the judges were so impressed. Let me just leave some space. Were so impressed with her perfect penmanship. Blank, they awarded her the top prize. So this is some synthesis and transformation. To be so impressed or to be so something, blank something. Synthesis and transformation, how do you compose these two clauses together? To be so impressed that they awarded her the top prize. Okay, good job for those that got it right. Tricky question, but if you got it right, well done. They awarded her the top prize. Sarah won a trophy and $500 of prize money. Although she had blank to decide what she wanted to do with her prize money, so here she has not decided what she wanted to do with it. Which word do you use to talk about her not deciding on how to use the prize money? Although she has right, I see Gaia with the answer, Rock and Roll King with the answer as well. And is Mazo coming in with your first time answering? Great job, is Mazo? It is Q. Yet to decide what to do. Okay, good job. Is Mazo, Gaia, and Rock and Roll? She has yet to decide what she wanted to do with her prize money. She was going to save half of it. To blank, if anyone tried their hardest, they could do it. What a remarkable spirit. Okay, so look at the subject over here. We're looking at Sarah, right? To Sarah, if anyone tried their best, they can do anything. Okay? So what pronoun over here should refer to Sarah? Okay. Over here, we're looking specifically at Sarah, not the greater population. So which pronoun over here is pointing specifically only at Sarah? Okay. Right, as pointed out by Ismazo and Rock and Roll, I think managed to change in the nick of time. It is option J, to her. To her, if anyone tries their best, they can do it. What a remarkable spirit. Okay. So great job for getting the right answer to wrap up our grammar close passage. And with that, we've come to the end of our grammar close passage. Are there any questions? Okay. Right. If there are no questions, perhaps in the interest of time, you can release everyone for a break first. You can go off your lunch, or you can go and wash up and rest up. I'll see everyone back at 2:30. We'll go through a second set of paper, right? Completely new questions, so come in with a bright and open mind. Okay. Thank you.